I'm your host, Brandy Fleck, and this is Human Amplified. We're on a mission to revamp society by amplifying your humanity. This week on the show,
my name is Rosenberger. 2 weeks after Alex was born, I took my first Iraq trip. You went from a baby you could hold in the palm of your hand to now he's up and walking around. The most important thing is definitely him. It's always been, I think we're allowing him to see that we can get along and that you can still treat each other with respect. We're a team, the three of us. Us holding hate towards each other over things said and done does neither one of us any good.
This episode is part 2 of a 2-part series where we explore Allie and Ed Rosenberger's what I think is a co-parenting anomaly because they do it so well. So if you haven't listened to part 1 yet, check out episode 65 that dropped last week. But today in part 2, episode 66, Ed Rosenberger explains from his perspective how he and his ex-wife and her significant other work together as a team to co-parent and why it's so important that they do. Much like Allie's side of the story, Ed says communication is one of the main ingredients for success. Respect and consistency across homes is also a priority for this co-parenting trio. We really dive deep into how Ed supports their son as a father and how he nurtures and protects their son's ability to grow, whether in sports, school, or with his relationship with his soon-to-be stepfather. We talk about everything from the initial transition of the divorce to setting ground rules for discipline and how Ed's friendship with Ryan, Allie's fiancé, has grown. Ed gets really personal and talks about what he expects from a future partner of his own and what he envisions for the future of this group's peaceful co-parenting relationship. Ed has a military career in the U.S. Special Forces. He grew up in Athens, Pennsylvania, a small rural town. He describes it as having more cows than people. He sees his most important job as a parent and prioritizing his son. Right now, Ed is getting to know himself again after divorce and has a positive outlook for the future. He enjoys hunting and jiu-jitsu. Please note, when we recorded part 1 with Allie, Ed was deployed. Several months passed between Allie's and Ed's interviews. We waited for Ed to be home from deployment before we recorded. So if you notice any discrepancies in details, such as their living arrangements, for example, it's due to the passage of time. Also, near the end of the interview, our internet connection got a little spotty, so the sound goes in and out for just a few seconds. The discussion is too good not to share though, so just hang in there with us. Just a couple years ago, I set out to find answers so we could stop relying on thoughts and prayers to change our world. Now, I want to share those answers with you. That's what the free ebook, What It Means to Be Human, is all about. So I've been asking people, what does being human mean to you since November of 2017 as informal research into our existence and how we live. Most people hesitate and don't know how to immediately answer that question. So it's a really fun one. And the more you think about it, the more complex it gets. So if you've ever thought about this, or even if you haven't, head over to humanamplified.com and tap the button at the very top of the homepage to go to our ebook and download it. After reading this ebook, you'll walk away with the ability to end up with more connection, a better understanding of what makes us tick as humans, increased awareness, and appreciation for our difference and similarities. It's a free, beautiful PDF with real data gathered over 2 years from this 5-star podcast. It even includes answers from our season 3 guests who you don't get to hear right now, those answers on this show. It's based on 66 different perspectives with 24 direct quotes broken down and analyzed over 20 pages. There's one super easy little homework assignment if you like to be able to take action and learn from what you've read. And I give you a crazy truth bomb answer to what it means to be human based on the patterns that have emerged from all the perspectives over the years that you don't get anywhere else but this ebook. So once again, go to humanamplified.com, tap the button at the very top of the page to go download your free ebook.
My name is Ed Rosenberger. I've been in the military, in U.S. Special Forces, for 15 years now. So I just hit my 15-year mark.
Awesome.
Had a little bit of college experience prior to joining the military, but grew up in a country town, super country, where there's more cows than people.
Okay.
So small town. Was married, not anymore. Have one wonderful son who just turned 12 the other day, so 2 days after Christmas, and just kind of go from there.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. What town did you grow up in?
Athens, Pennsylvania, on the northern border of Pennsylvania, right there with New York State.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So now let's just dive in and sort of get real deep immediately. Where are you in life now, and just describe what life is like for you today?
It's kind of a transition point right now. I just recently got back from a deployment to Iraq, came back and moved back in with my ex-wife for a couple weeks until we get the housing situation settled.
Mm-hmm.
Got to spend Christmas with Alex and Allie and her new fiance and their son. And right now I'm trying to kind of figure out where I'm going in life. I know I've got 5 more years in the military. I've got a wonderful son, and we're just trying to move on from there. It's just kind of finding myself right now.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about finding yourself a little bit. What are you doing to sort of form or get to know this identity of you that's not married and not like you had been for so many years?
So we planned a bunch of trips with the guys that I work with. I've got a bunch of hunting trips that, I love to shoot, love to hunt, love the outdoors. So I planned a bunch of trips. Last weekend, we had a hunting trip down west Tennessee, just off of Reelfoot. Really got into the ducks there, had a good time. I'm taking leave right now, so I'm going up to see, right now I'm at my sister's house, going to see my older brother, and then after that, picking up Alex at the airport, and then he's going to fly or drive with me up to see my mom and dad.
Awesome. And just so our listeners know, Alex is your son.
Yes. And then after that, we've got just a bunch of trips planned between me and Alex, me and the guys, and just trying to keep busy with work and that type of stuff for now.
Okay. All right. So did you ever think that you'd be where you are today in life? And now that you are, how do you feel about it?
No. This is definitely a new area for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird being a single father at 35, trying to figure out what you want to do. So this was definitely not where I pictured myself 5 years ago.
Are you happy?
Yeah. Yes and no. So I'm happy about a lot of things. There's times that you get lonely, but that's to be expected, I suppose. So, but as far as overall happiness, I would say yes.
Okay. Well, good. That's good. So, as you alluded to, you are peacefully co-parenting with the guest whose episode aired right before yours. Her name is Allie Rosenberger. And as you said, you guys have one son together. So at the time of this interview, how long have you guys been co-parenting as an unmarried couple?
I think it was final in April, I believe, but we had announced it in December and probably had come up with the plan in October, November timeframe of last year. So we're talking just over a year since we made the decision.
Okay. Was there any hesitation on your part about the current arrangement you have with no formal parenting plan and staying closely tied together?
Once we determined that we weren't going to be together, it was definitely, I got nervous because most divorces don't end very amicably.
Mm-hmm.
And there's usually one person that feels like they've been slighted. So definitely once we decided, I was definitely nervous. There was points where I was a little bit hesitant how we were going to go about this, but After about a month or two of us talking about it, and we came up with what we thought was a good plan. Since that point, I haven't been.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm sort of assuming that our guests listened to Allie's episode. And would you say it's fair to say that you are doing what's best for your son and you made the decisions you made for your son? That was like your driving motivation?
Oh, definitely. I mean, my parents were never divorced, so I didn't personally go through it, but I had friends that I'd seen go through it. Allie had her parents that were separated, and it was a nightmare for her, even to the point where she didn't talk to her dad for years. I think we were already married by the time she had reconnected with her dad. So it'd been like 10, 12 years. And it's gotten to the point where they won't even be in the same room. We can't do any type of vacations, birthdays, weddings, anything like that. And they can't be in the same room. So,
Okay. So you were like, this is not what we want for our son because you'd seen it.
so we made the conscious effort that we were going to do whatever we had to do to remain at least civil, if not continue to try to be like good friends
Mm-hmm.
for his sake.
Yeah, that's awesome. So give us a little context about what your son is like. What's his personality and what do you guys do?
Oh, wow. So he's, like I said, he's 12 years old. He's already coming up on my height, which he's going to be taller than me. He'll be 6'2", 6'3", tall, skinny. Loves sports, track, baseball. He had done jujitsu for the longest time. He's naturally talented at sports that he wants to be good at.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's got drive, he'll be good. But if he doesn't care, then I mean, he can be a little bit lazy. And same thing goes with school. If he enjoys it and he wants to be good at it, he'll do really good. But if he doesn't care, then you've really got to stay on him to go to school, pay attention, and actually put the effort in.
Yeah. And then what is it like for you being his dad?
I mean, I definitely love him to death. He's a joy. Like, he's always doing sports. He's always trying to do stuff that I enjoy. He loves to go hunting with me. I do the jujitsu. Then he got into the jujitsu. So a lot of the sports he's chosen were ones that I have done. There's definitely times he's got my attitude and his mom's mouth. So I'm generally the calmer of the two parents. She gets heated up real quick. I can usually stay calm, and I'm kind of the voice of reason when it comes to him, because he likes to, as her, when they get upset, they don't do real well. And if you yell or anything like that, they go the opposite direction.
Okay. We talked to Allie a little bit about this, but what is your side of the story for what your marriage was like and just why it ended?
Well, we started dating when we were both in the military, and I would say we were really good friends or drinking buddies. We love to go out. We love to host parties. We love to go do fun and exciting things.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like having the female best friend that drinks with you. And then, I mean, of course, we know where that goes. And next thing you know, we're having Alex, and it definitely changed our lives, slowed down the partying, the drinking, a lot of that stuff. And about the same time, I'd come to group. So my job changed, and now I was deploying all the time. So I think I'm on deployment. I just got back from deployment number 8 or 9.
Wow.
So I've spent a lot of time in many different countries, whether it's Iraq, multiple times, Afghanistan, Lebanon, Jordan, Syria. We've done trips all over the place. So I'm usually home for a year, and then I'm gone for 6, 8, 10 months. And then I'll be back a year and a half, gone for 6, 8, 10 months. So it's a pretty routine schedule now, where we're back for 15 and then gone for 6. But early on in the career, there was times we did Iraq trips where it was 10 months over, 6 months back, 10 months over, 6 months back.
Okay.
It was definitely stressful, to say the least.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's that like for you? I mean, how does that impact your relationships?
2 weeks after Alex was born, I took my first Iraq trip. So I was home for the birth, home for 2 weeks, take care of Alex. And then I left for Iraq for 10 months, come back, and you went from a baby you could hold in the palm of your hand to now he's up and walking around.
Yeah.
So it's definitely been challenging. New technology, Skype, FaceTime, all that stuff has been wonderful, made things a lot easier. The first trips were always the hardest, and these last ones, he's kind of, I don't know if he understands, but he knows what to expect.
Okay. Do you talk to him about like why you have to be gone so much?
Oh yeah, I mean we've had the discussion multiple times, kind of explaining what I do, why it's important, whatnot. And I mean, talked with Allie, and we teetered on whether I was staying in, whether I was not staying in, that type of thing many times. So it was, I think we'd kind of talk about it a little bit, and then I would end up just going and re-enlisting anyway. I think that happened once, but we semi talked about it. We didn't really come up with an exact plan, but then I'd be like, oh, by the way, re-enlisted. We got 5 more years. Yay.
Oh,
So that was a little interesting.
okay. Well, so I mean, this is your career, right?
Coming up on 20, I got four years and change left, and then I can retire.
Awesome. With you being deployed quite a bit, I'm sure that, I mean, yeah, like you said, it had its challenges, but what was your role in helping your son through the transition of the end of your relationship with Allie? And how did you do it?
So once we came up with when we were going to tell him and when we were going to tell everybody else, we obviously wanted to tell him first before we told anybody, so he didn't find out from his friends.
Mm-hmm.
Sat down and we had a discussion with him at the dinner table one night. Told him what was going to go, like that we were going to get divorced, but his life shouldn't change for the most part. We were gonna still be living in the same house. It was gonna be a slow transition. I was gonna be moving upstairs, and Allie was gonna be keeping the house. I'd move up we had a huge bonus room. I'd move up there close to him, and we'd work through the transition because I knew I was deploying in 6 months.
Okay. Allie has moved on, and she announced in her interview that she's engaged and all of those awesome things. How has that impacted you, and how do you feel about your son having another father figure in his life?
Well, I mean, initially, the first thing you want to do is not like the guy. So that's just gut reaction.
Mm-hmm.
The point to that I had to meet him before he could meet Alex. And she did tell me, like, if I didn't like him, that she would take that into consideration and she wouldn't date him if I couldn't stand to be around him. That was more important, that we be friends. Once I met him, we got along really well, to the point now where it's nothing for us to go have a couple beers and drink. And usually when we go out together, it's me and him picking on Allie. So it's the two of us first. So we actually get along really well now, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah. Well, that's really great, though. Were you motivated to get along with him and like try to become close to him because he was going to be in Alex's life?
Definitely, yes. Especially with me being deployed as much as I am, I know it's not like he gets to go see him for a day or two and then he comes with me for a day or two. He was going to spend 6 months out of a year, every couple of years, with him being the only father figure there. So it definitely made sense for us to be friends, coexist, come up with the same plan. So we're both on the same sheet of music when it comes to Alex and whatever he has going on. And then actually just getting to know him, I mean, it was kind of hard not to like him. So
Awesome. Okay. All right. So there are a lot of people in the same situation as you, but they really struggle co-parenting with an ex, and then on top of that, an ex's new partner. What approach do you take to keep that relationship with Allie and her partner healthy? And how would you recommend other people do the same?
that's a very good question. So there's definitely times that are stressing, and we'd be lying if we said that there weren't. I mean, it's trying to find the boundaries between the communication back and forth, where everybody's role is, was definitely interesting. Every time we hang out, like I got back from deployment and he had been there staying with Allie and Ryan, which is her new fiance, and he does something and he's not supposed to, and Ryan yells at him. Like initially, like the first reaction is like, "Whoa, what are you doing yelling at my son?" But then you look back, it's like, well, for the last 6 months, he has been the one that's been disciplining him as well. And at the same time, he had a son that he brought into the relationship too. So his son DJ lives at the house. So when they're not there, I'm the parent. Like if I'm watching both kids, I'm the one disciplining his kid as well. So it was just trying to find that balance of where you fall into and trying to make sure everybody's on the same sheet of music.
Yeah. Did you guys talk about how you wanted to discipline?
We definitely had a lot of discussions on not necessarily how we wanted to discipline, but what we wanted to accomplish.
Okay.
Not necessarily the means of discipline, but like, hey, this is unacceptable. You can't do this. You can't do that. Like we kind of set these ground rules up. Of like, all right, these are kind of your left and right limit. As long as he's kind of falling in between there, there's no real issue.
Okay. Awesome. So I'm hearing you say, communication's important, defined rules or defined roles, and then ground rules. What are your thoughts about? I know you're finding yourself right now, but if you ever do get a future girlfriend or a future wife, what are your thoughts about finding someone who fits into this situation that you guys have? Do you think it'll be hard for someone to be accepting?
I think it's definitely going to be challenging no matter what. Just bringing another, like me bringing a partner in to the very unique relationship we have now.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking, the girls are going to have more of an issue than the guys will. Like, I mean, that's generally the way I've seen it. I'm not sure if this is 100% accurate, but it's generally the girls don't get along as well as the guys are. Like at the end of the day, if everything is kind of copacetic, we're not going to make a big deal out of it. Allie has a very strong personality that, I mean, you've known her for years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely going to be a challenge, especially if I find somebody else that has a strong personality as well.
Are you looking for a strong personality?
I'm not sure. Kind of just seeing what's out there and what really meshes well with me.
Yeah. So is it a priority for you that when you do find someone that they fit into this, or do you ever see yourself pulling back from this situation?
I would say it's definitely a priority to find somebody that can mesh and at least be cordial, copacetic with Allie, which is probably not always going to be the same as it is right now. Right now, we spend a lot of time together because we're living in the same house for the next about a month. So there's definitely going to have to be, I mean, our own space. We can't all, it's never going to be two families living in the same house. I don't think that's a realistic request. But being able to go over and have dinners, do family time, do any of the holidays, stuff like that, I expect that to be able to be able to have a good time, be cordial, and like I would really hope that they get along.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because of this arrangement, I say arrangement, but it's like that's not the right word because it's y'all's life, it's just you guys being you and looking out for your son. How have you seen him thrive because you're so accepting of each other and Ryan?
Well, initially he was not very thrilled. I mean, I think the first thing he told Allie was, "I'm never calling him dad," and he really tried to test his limits on what he could get away with.
Mm.
But I think we tried to put the kibosh on that real quick. I mean, just letting him know that it's not acceptable to treat him that way. He's still an adult. He's one of the ones in charge. Like we're all a team.
Mhm.
And when we don't live in the same house, when he gets punished at one house, he's still in trouble with the other house. That we're a team, the three of us. So it's not me versus Ryan and Allie. You can't pin us against each other. Like, so as soon as we start having any issues, immediately we call. Like, if I have issues with him, I'll call Allie so she knows exactly what's going on.
Mhm. Awesome. So now, has he sort of like gotten on board and is having fun and
Oh yeah, he definitely does. Especially having a little brother now with DJ there. He doesn't like to admit it, but as soon as you separate them, then they want to be back together.
Mhm.
And then you'll see him like there was times I'd call on Skype and he'd be cuddled up with Ryan. So it's watching movies and stuff like that. So he goes through. I mean, there's highs and lows. So there's times where he doesn't really want to, but then there's other times that he's 100% on board.
Okay. And how do you support him through the lows?
I mean, I'm usually the one that does the long drawn out talks and try to see what he's feeling and then try to come up with a plan. I don't know. We've had a lot of just calming down talks where he'll get super worked up and then he just can't function. He can't figure out what he wants to do, and I'll just like sit up in his room and like talk to him. I mean, it starts off with not really talking about anything before you can actually figure out what the root of the problem is. I don't know. That was always the worst thing. Like as a kid, I'd rather just get the beating than the long drawn out disappointed dad talk.
Uh-huh.
And he was pretty good about doing both, but the disappointed dad talk was always like, oh, not this again. So I didn't quite go with like disappointed dad, but also I'd go up and be like, all right, what are you thinking? Why are you doing this? And come up with the actual plan for what's going on.
Mhm. In a nutshell, if you had to pick like one word that's your recipe for success for peacefully co-parenting, what would that be?
Definitely communication. So, I mean, you could go 100 different ways, but it all wraps back down to us talking and coming up with the same plan, making sure everybody understands what's going on. That was the big thing, is just communicating not only what our intentions were, but how you're feeling, what you wanted out of it, your expectations. So I think I can wrap everything right around to communication.
Okay. Why do you think that it would be important for other parents to really strive for this model of peacefully co-parenting? What are the benefits?
Well, I can definitely say for Alex, like I don't think we've really affected his life or his ability to grow. He hasn't been shut in. He hasn't been acting any differently, really, for the most part. I think we're allowing him to see that we can get along and that you can still treat each other with respect. We can still hang out. So his life hasn't been given that 180-degree twist and thrown upside down. I think that was probably a key part.
Yeah, to like sort of minimize the trauma, sort of.
Exactly. Because I mean, it's definitely, it's hard on whether he wants to admit it or not, the fact that we are getting divorced. And you see a lot more of it now than you saw when I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got friends in school that their parents have gotten divorced or are getting divorced, and they aren't having anywhere close to the same kind of situation that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And he just get why they can't be friends and just get over it.
Yeah. So from the mouth of babes. All right. Well, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you think is important to say?
The most important thing is definitely him. It's always been, as we looked at this, was his health, his well-being, not just the immediate effects, but down the road, talking about his marriage, his first child, second child, anytime they're in the hospital. Like, if we as adults can't get along to be there for our child, then what are we really doing? Us holding hate towards each other over things said and done does neither one of us any good.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's, as you look at it, it's all for him.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Well, Ed, thanks so much for coming on the show today. It has been a pleasure.
thank you so much for having me, and it was great to see you again.
Yeah. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and learn more at humanamplified.com.